No. Okay, well, Scott's presentation kind of made the first couple of slides for mine pointless. Oh, come on. Why can I not use the page up, page down like normal? I tell you. Yeah, practical guide to LVM. This is not going to touch on nearly the surface of LVM and what you can actually do with it, but it is going to give you everything you'd normally need to do working with it day in, day out. I have not been able to find any guides online that give you either give you one very basic chunk of it that doesn't cover nearly everything you need to do every day with it if you're working with it, or it's everything LVM does, which honestly I'm sure that there's some people who actually need to use every little bit of it, but I don't know them. Scott might, not me. And I'm very glad there's no graphic designers into place. Yeah, this is my 5-minute special, me deciding I want some graphics to try to show what's going on. Those are all the building blocks that we'll get into in a few minutes here. What is LVM? Well, Scott already explained it way better than I do here. So basically, you're taking disks and presenting them to the system however you decide you want them to be shown. It does lots of really cool things underneath the hood. Yeah. Okay. The first of the building blocks, physical volumes, they're your storage devices. They can be any storage device presented to the system as a block device. Thinking through it, the only thing that I came up with off the top of my head that would not work is a rewritable CD. That's about the only thing off the top of my head that would not work for a target for your physical volumes. Your physical volumes, of course, is what your actual physical storage where, unknown to you, things actually get stored, which is part of the magic of the system. You don't have to know where everything is actually stored. It's going to take care of that for you, put it where it's best for the system and all that. Okay, volume groups. Volume groups are made out of the physical, you assign physical volumes to a volume group, and that volume group, actually I'm getting ahead of myself there. So your physical volumes are your actual storage devices on the system. Any storage device almost any storage device you want to use. And the volume group is the just basically I'm blanking on what I was going to say. So yeah, your volume groups are basically they're managing the physical devices things are stored on, but you don't have any say in what they're doing, basically. And this is just a quick how you create them. I'm actually going to go over this on a demo with you after my slide deck's done here. So I'm going to try and run through this quick and actually get to the good stuff. And here is the big one, logical volumes. You have after you've created all your physical volumes, you have them in a volume group. Now you actually get to start creating what the system sees as partitions. And it's where we get to do a whole bunch of the fun things. Okay, got that. And here I'm just showing you the basics of basically.
So we will give you a few minutes extra to go beyond. We had to have a little bit of excitement in our day, and it's a beautiful day in Rochester, so we'll enjoy it.
Pulled the fire alarm just so we could get out of his presentation.
Gee, thanks. Everything's my fault. It's my evil plan to take over the world. Everything's my fault. Okay, where was I here? Logical volumes? Okay. Yeah, okay, back to logical volumes. Like I was saying, the logical volumes are the things that act like partitions that the system actually sees. We had gotten to my piece here. This, if you can actually read it, it's just showing you the basics of how to create your basic logical volume. And there's naming things is important. It's when I first started working with LVM in Linux, well, working in Linux today, you're going to be using LVM. And naming things is a big deal. Let me see if I can get, there's a good slide for it. Oh, there we go, you can hear me better there. With the how LVM works, the physical volumes, you don't give them names, they're just referred to as the device on the system. Your volume group is where you're going to start naming things. And logical volumes also get their own names. You want to make sure to pick different names for your volume groups and logical volumes because you will get them confused and you really do not want to accidentally remove your volume group instead of the logical volume that you're trying to go for. And just the final quick bit on volume. I'm confusing myself. Logical volumes, they're the piece where you can actually do snapshotting, which is also the piece that most of these basic LVM tutorials completely ignore. And snapshotting will make your life much happier, easier, and when you experience just being able to just yank a drive out of a system, it is a wonderful thing. Whether it is RAID or LVM you're using to make that happen. And here again, I'm going through what I'm going to show you guys here on my system here in a few minutes. creating a logical volume. The LV is the only place that you tell the system how big or how much space you want to give it. And the two ways to do that is actually a little confusing too, because it's lowercase l gives you, you tell it how many extents to use. Uppercase L lets you tell it you want 10 gig, 10 meg size thing. Yeah, and here's where I say, hey, make sure you're paying attention to what you're naming things, because you will confuse yourself. At least I do. And this is also where I actually demonstrate you can physical volumes after you have this set up. If you have enough space on your physical volumes, you can yank a physical volume out of the system. It doesn't care, it'll keep going, your data is still going to be there. And here, it actually will do the RAID config and setup for you. And it's easy to make with the mirror option. You can tell the system you want 3 or 4 mirrors if you really feel like it. It'll do it, and you don't have to figure out which drives you want to mirror or anything like that. It'll handle all that for you. Just do it. It's really kind of nice if you get to that level and you need that functionality, which is another big thing. Once you learn about storage, planning how you want to do everything, whether it's the RAID level, the LVM level, it's one of the harder things in actually planning out storage. And of course, removing things, normally it works well. Scott was actually just talking about there are scenarios that you do run into that it's harder to make things go away. And believe it or not, that's a good thing, that it makes it hard for you to do something bad. That's the end of my slide deck. Now we'll actually get into doing this. Okay, good. I'm going to have to type on a tiny little keyboard here. It's going to be entertaining for you, I'm sure.
Any worse than I do.
And this is going to be tough for me to see what I'm actually doing here, since I don't have a screen to look at.
Did you change the font size?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, the number on the side. Yeah.
20?
24. A little bit bigger. There you go. There we go.
There we go.
Next year, we'll have a projector at the front. So not enough time to get new ones.
Yeah.
Going in 2 days, right? What's up?
And with what I'm doing, of course, if you remember yesterday, sudo su. Oh.
Yeah, I think we can move this.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. I'm not going to remember all the commands off the top of my head, believe it or not. So if you remember the graphic, the first thing you have to do is actually create your physical volumes, which is PV create. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do as much as I can in one shot. 5 through 11. Oh, what? Oh, that's really great. Oops. It helps if you have LVM installed.
That would be helpful.
Yeah. And they. Oh, 2. Even more of a tutorial than I thought. And internet's not active. Hey, guess what? It's going online. Whoever was saying they were going to hack me.
If you want to use my phone as a hotspot,
Yeah.
seriously, I'm getting LTE in here. It's great.
I thought I had all this ready to go. Sorry. Yeah, what's that?
You have to sing.
Oh, do you really want to hear me sing? I'm warning you, all I know is hymns. Apparently I get to do this one at a time. So, yeah, PV create, that's all there is to it. for creating your physical volumes. Anytime you have a device on a system that you want to use for LVM, you run a PV create on it. The physical volume is actually called the same thing the system does. So when you refer to physical volumes when creating your logical volumes, it's the same like dev SDA1 that you'd normally see. Speaking of creating logical volumes, see if I can remember this. You do want the only option besides the physical volumes you want to pass it is you want to give it a name to reference it. Don't let the system name it for you because it will, and you'll never remember what it's called. And I have to type all this out because I don't think the Raspberry Pi will do the nice shell commands like normal.
Just run bash.
Yeah, right. Oh. Duh. What does the Raspbian use by default?
I have no idea.
Oh. And I'm trying to create an LV instead of a logical volume. Or physical. I told you I wouldn't remember everything off the top of my head, right? Oh, yeah, don't have to. Don't have to give it a command line switch to name this one. Okay. Yeah, apparently bash isn't the default shell in Raspbian. It's not.
It might be dash.
Now, VG display shows that, hey, we have a physical volume. It's going, and this VG display is where it gives you all the information about the volumes available on your system. The size available, which I'm running on a little USB drive with just tiny amount of space available to keep things quick here. Normally you'd be using like different hard drives or a RAID array or something and not a bunch of partitions on a single USB drive. And now the logical volume stuff, where we actually start presenting things to the system. And what this is here, if this works, I suppose I'll check that before I explain it. It did. Okay. So LV create, I'm giving N is giving it a name for the system for you to use in mounting it and creating file systems and whatnot. The L10 is telling it to give it 10 logical extents on the volume group VG test that I just created. I told you I can't type on this keyboard, right? So, and LV display shows us all the logical volumes currently existing on the system. Of course, we just have the one right now. And since I gave it 10 logical extents, you can see how much actual space it takes up on the drive here. And now we actually have a thing we can create a file system on. And notice in the when I display the logical volume, it gives you the system path for it right there. This is actually a link to another. If you actually go into dev VG test, it's actually a link to a different device on the system. But trying to remember which is much harder than just using the logical paths the system gives you. Let it do the hard work for you. And yeah, little system, or little file system, nice and quick. And now the fun stuff with the logical volumes. And I don't remember it. Reference your man page. I don't think a day goes by I don't reference a man page at some point. And you can see there's lots of options that I'm not going to bother going over here because I could talk all day just on LVM and the different monitoring and everything that goes along with it. And I am looking for specifically the option for mirrors, which is -M. Think you could have guessed that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and create well, heck, since we're just playing around today, going to create four mirrors, three. Make sure I have enough physical volumes to actually do it assigned to this. And so this one, I'm passing the name and the amount of extents or the size I want to make the partition, and the M3 is telling it to make it a triple mirror. Like I said, it doesn't really make sense most of the time to do more than a single mirror. I know you've all probably seen Scott talk about that often enough. And it didn't create it. Oh. And I'm already forgetting what I called it. did I say about being able to type on this keyboard? Oh, I can't do 3. Okay, we'll just do 1 since I didn't give it enough space. And it told me that. Like, and there we go. So now I've got a mirrored volume. You use it like a standard partition. Mount it like a standard partition. And I mix words up too, yes. And hey, if you're used to managing Linux, it's all pretty straightforward. I created a directory to mount it to, mounted it, it's showing up in the system, it's usable. Now, now I'm going to do something that you really, IT guys don't like to do. I'm going to yank a physical volume out. It's the equivalent of just yanking your hard drive out. If I can remember the command. PV remove. I just yanked a hard drive out of my system. Is the volume still there? Yep. It's still there, still active. The system has enough space that even though a physical volume left the system, the amount of space you have assigned to the system is more than the space you currently have used, even after you've removed a drive from the system. Everything's still there. As far as your mount point goes, you've lost nothing. Makes your day a whole lot easier, let me tell you, when you start having drive problems in an enclosure or something like that, that you can make the storage backing your LVM come and go as you please. And snapshots. This is where I'm going to be really lost without my notes to look at. So look at the notes for LV Create again and look up how we make a snapshot. I think it's just -S, but yes. Alrighty, it is -S. We're going to call it something else. creating a snapshot and removing them is kind of confusing, because at least it was to me when I first learned about it, because it's the same command you use as creating and removing a normal logical volume, but it just has the extra option of when creating it, it has the extra option of you're actually passing it the current logical volume you want to create the snapshot of. Give it an amount of space and should be good. Oh, it should include the volume group. Okay. And now we have a snap time. Okay, we're almost there. This is the last thing I wanted to cover with you. So now we have a snapshot volume. Here's the mirror snapshot. Obviously, you want to create a snapshot, make your backup, and remove it so you're not hampering your performance or whatnot on the system. And you remove a snapshot the same way you'd normally remove a logical volume. Which is why I said naming in this is very important. You don't want to mix up your names. You could remove your original volume instead of the snapshot. Thankfully, I've avoided that particular one, but I've been close a couple of times, late nights and whatnot. Yes, I really do want to remove it, and there we go. That's pretty much everything I wanted to cover with you guys. And like I said, all the other tutorials I found online either cover one component of it or cover everything. And if you're having trouble remembering the process of what you need to create where and all that, my silly little graphic that I started off the presentation with, there's a couple other examples of that available, but that's a really good reference to me to go back and say, quick reminder, okay, this is the steps I need to take. So that's it for LVM, and well, you got to see how well I remember each of these commands and have to look everything up myself. So there you go.